Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's special segment of interview with Dr. Kshitija Singh ma'am on violence against doctors. Dr. Kshitija ma'am is Assistant Professor, Department of Hospital Administration at AIIMS, New Delhi. We welcome you, ma'am, to this interview segment.
Thank you.
And we are privileged to have with you with us today.
Pleasure is mine.
First of all, ma'am, we have seen that in the recent years, these incidences against the violence against doctors, they have been increasing. So what do you think that what can be the causes which have led to increase in the number of these incidents?
So the thing is that yes, since about you can say somewhere around 2014-15, the incidences have started to come to the light because the studies were done. There was records being dig out, and it was like 78% of the violence were being reported in India. Globally also the trend says that it's more than 50% in most of the places. But yes, they were there before, but they were less because if you remember, we had that family physician culture.
Yes.
And the doctors were almost considered as gods. But over the period, there has been a transition in terms of the society, what the people expect, what they demand. Also transition in how the medical is being practiced now.
Yeah.
It has become more capitalistic as compared to before.
Yes.
So I can say there is a little tweaking required from both the sides, and this has led to a sudden, I would say, what we see is the tip of the iceberg. A lot of cases go unreported also.
Yes.
So this has happened, and this is, I think, the high time we should address this issue and we should speak about it and sensitize people like we do it for diseases.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. So, ma'am, when such incidents happen, like the violence is happening, so I think it will affect both the patient care also, and it affects the psychology of the doctor or the healthcare professional who's treating the patient. So, how do you think that all this affects the life of the patient also, and the life of the doctor or the healthcare professional who's treating them or who are involved in such incidences?
See, we have to understand that for long it is a partnership.
Yeah.
You know, this is one thing in which the doctor and the patient, they are both into a partnership with one another to win over a disease or an illness. So both the people suffer in case such incidences happen.
Right.
Now, when you talk about the doctor, if such incident happens for long, it can be a post-traumatic syndrome. They can have, they can get into anxiety, they can get into depression. It also brings down the confidence and the morale of the treating healthcare person.
Okay.
And the practice becomes more defensive. They would try to not give you advices and not give you suggestions which they would have otherwise given. So they get into a self-defense mode. That increases the gap. Now what happens to the patient is, once your doctor starts fearing you, so you are not getting as open a suggestion as you would have. Once you have initiated an assault in the hospital, there are so many other patients who might need a life-saving treatment.
Yeah.
They get suffered because for a certain period or a certain days, the entire system goes for a toss.
Yes.
So it's not that the doctors are suffering, the patients and people have to understand that they also suffer.
Yeah.
Because of one act, there is a ripple effect which happens. Other doctors, the approach changes, the other patients and the attendants suffer. So the suffering is on both the sides then.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, what do you think that what can be done to prevent such incidences? Like, is any measures which we can take, any proper infrastructure that we can incorporate into?
So we have been working on this, on sensitization, on having panel discussions, of understanding the viewpoint of all the stakeholders who are involved in this, and perception of the patients and attendants itself. So over the period, we have come with a certain brief of recommendations, and they go, like, everyone has to do their job, starting with the society. They need to be more trusting, more understanding and more cooperative towards their own treatments. They need to bring down the expectations that every disease will be cured, illness will be cured with a snap of the finger. So that patience and trust has to come back. The government needs to come up with a common law, a good legislature, so that everybody starts fearing it. So once it is implemented, now the implementation of that would be by the police personnel. So they need to on ground ensure that whenever such incidents happens, they deal with it with little more strictness. They identify the hospitals which are having high footfall and where such incidences happen more frequently. So they need to put those SOPs in place. The institution needs to create a safe space for the doctors and the healthcare workers.
Yes.
They need to take the initiative, like now there's a rule that the institute is going to file the FIR. The institute is going to provide the security guards, the training of the security guards, regular drill, putting up the posters that if you do violence against healthcare personnel, there would be certain fine. This is the imprisonment that you can get as per the state law. So this the institution has to do. Doctors also now need to change their approach from little paternalistic to be more communicative.
Yes.
And more, I would say, work on the soft skill communication.
Communication is important.
Yes, and that too, communicating in a certain way. We understand that they're working long working hours, and we always say that for you, it might be your 50th patient. Like, ma'am, you do your OPD.
Yes.
So your OPD, you are speaking the similar thing, the same thing. So it might come that you are speaking the same thing for about like 100 times, but for that patient, it's the first.
Yes, ma'am.
So we just speak it out, but we sometimes don't understand the effect that it would have on the patient. And a clear communication and a constant channel of communication.
Yes.
From our side. And institutions can actually help with it. They can have people in ICUs and OTs who are doing the counseling, who speak, who communicate that your patient has gone critical. So these measures, and of course the media.
Yes.
It also now needs to come up and take the accountability and responsibility of how the healthcare in totality is reflected to the people. If the population loses the faith in the system and in its doctors, so how do you expect them to come with that respect and that surrendering thing?
Yes.
So everyone has a small role to play, and once we all do that, so I think we will be able to resolve the problem. And there's this small tip that I would like to give to all the healthcare personals.
Yes.
So there's a mnemonic called STAMP. So while you're working and you see people around, a lot of people, so always keep your little from the corner of your eye that if you see somebody, like STAMP, it's somebody staring at you, somebody's tone of the voice and the pitch has changed. If you would see that there is little anxiety, somebody is fidgeting around you, picking up the papers, trying to find where is my prescription, and there's mumbling, so they are saying something incoherent, but you can understand that the person is not very happy now. And of course that there is palpable tension that is there. So once you see this, you can actually call your nearest guard or somebody and tell them that please speak to them and ask them what is the problem.
Yes.
So such small things, if we start doing and become self-aware, so we can protect our healthcare workers and let this thing go smooth.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am. You have in total told us like very nicely, like the problem is there, but the solution has to be from both the sides. So we need to incorporate all of these measures, and hopefully we'll have a better future and less incidences in the future. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.